Hi everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be talking about contemporary books that I want to read. These are obviously not all of the contemporary books that I want to read, but I've really been in the mood to read contemporary books recently, so these are some that I'm hoping to read really soon. Maybe this summer. I'm definitely planning on reading at least 2 of these this summer. And before I get farther into this video, let's define what contemporary books are. Contemporary books are realistic fiction, so they take place in today's world. Technically they could happen, they're obviously fictional stories, fictional characters, but the things that could happen, it could be like a teenager in school, but there's like no fantasy elements, no dystopian, no sci-fi, and contemporary generally doesn't really have like thriller and horror type stuff in it. So let's crack on with this video. The first contemporary book that I want to read is one that has been on my shelf for an extremely long time. It is a middle grade book, and this book is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. This is a book that I'm hoping to read very soon for a readathon that I'm currently in the middle of doing. It ends on July 20th, I think. Wonder was made into a movie in the past like several years, like maybe 5 years ago. Wonder is about a boy named Augie who has a facial difference, and because of that he's never been to a real school. But in this book he goes to normal school for the first time, and he's hoping that people can see past his facial difference and just interact with him like real people interact with each other. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I think it will be a very emotional read, but I think it will be a very important and interesting one. Next up is an adult book, and then the rest of the books after this adult book are all young adult books. So this one that I want to read is Wild Like Me by Louise Pentland. I got this one when I was in the UK, as you can see the pound like sign there instead of dollars. So I've had this for quite a long time and I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but Louise Pentland is one of my favorite YouTubers. I love all of her videos. And I'm part of her Wild Readers group, and everyone in the Wild Readers group is just like so nice and accepting, and they always gush about how much they love her books, so I really want to get around to reading this one. Wild Like Me is about a mom named Robin who has a little girl, and she is a single mom, and she is struggling a little bit. She's a little lonely and she wants to change her life and get herself out there. This book sounds really interesting. It's really different than my normal reads, but this year I've been sort of experimental, like trying things that I normally wasn't interested in before, and I found some new stuff and new genres that I've really been enjoying. So hopefully I will really enjoy Wild Like Me. And the next ones, as I said, are all young adult. So the next contemporary book that I want to read, at least I think it's completely contemporary. I'm pretty sure it's completely contemporary. I'm not sure. So this is a short story anthology. This is called Blackout. The authors are, oh my gosh, I can't read this fancy font. So I think it's Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. So these are all the authors in this anthology. It's a romance anthology by a bunch of Black authors. I think they're all set in New York, and I just want to show you how beautiful the under the jacket cover is. Look at that. It just came out in June, and I pre-ordered this one because I love Nicola Yoon. She's one of my favorite authors, in case you're new here. And yeah, this is one that at least most of the stories in here will be contemporary, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. I don't read anthologies too often, but they're sort of really nice to read because they're a nice break between like series and heavy fantasy books, because they're just like short little stories and you can like pick it up here and then read it like a couple months later, another story. They're just like really nice and relaxing. You can easily fit this into your reading schedule, especially since this one is so short. So I'm really looking forward to reading Blackout. The next one that I'm looking forward to reading is Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. All I know about Felix Ever After is that this is about a Black, queer, transgender teen, and there's some transphobia that starts happening at school that targets him. So I think it will be somewhat of a hard read, but I think it will be really important, and I love this cover, and I've heard only good things about this book, so I'm really looking forward to reading Felix Ever After. The next one that I want to read is another queer story. This one is Heartstopper Volume 2 by Alice Osman. I read Volume 1 last year and I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to reading Volume 2. I was looking for Volume 2 nonstop at Powell's Books, which is the bookstore I go to the most, and they just didn't have Volume 2 for a while, but I went like recently-ish and I found Volume 2 there, so I'm really excited. It is just a cute gay graphic novel and I love it, and it's just like so wholesome. Like this is the pure wholesome romantic gay story that everyone wants. There's 2 more contemporary books that I want to mention for this video that I really want to read. The next one is All This Time. This is by Miki Daughtry and Rachel Lippincott, who are 2 of the authors who worked on 5 Feet Apart. 5 Feet Apart also had a 3rd author, but this is just 2 of the authors from that book. It has a very similar cover to 5 Feet Apart, so I'm hoping that it's very similar vibes. I don't know much about what it's about, but I think there's the theme of death in here and grief and loss, but there's also romance. I'm just trying to skim the synopsis really quickly. I think it will be a powerful and emotional read, and I'm really looking forward to this one. I really enjoyed 5 Feet Apart. I flew through it because it was so incredible, so I'm hoping that all this time it will be the same. And my final contemporary book that I want to show today is probably the most hyped one out of the list of all of the books that I've shown so far. In case you're new to my channel, John Green is not really my favorite author. I don't really vibe with many of his books, but I love his YouTube videos and I love him as a person, so I really want to get into his books more. So the one that I'm most interested in reading out of all of his books is Turtles All the Way Down. This one and The Fault in Our Stars are the ones that I've heard the best reviews about, but the reason I want to read Turtles All the Way Down the most is because I've heard that there's OCD representation in this book. Spoiler alert, I have OCD. So I have never really seen OCD depicted in a book, but like, I don't know, maybe it would be cool to see my mental illness represented in a book. So I think that this book just sounds really interesting. I think it's like somewhat of a mystery book. I'm just really looking forward to it. I don't know much about what it's about besides the fact that it's a mystery and there's OCD, but I'm hoping they'll be good. I've heard only good things about this book, so I will be reading it hopefully soon. And that's all for this video. Those were some of the contemporaries that I really want to read soon. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. All of my other social media will be linked down in the description below, and all of the Goodreads pages to the books that were mentioned in this video will also be linked down in the description below. I upload videos 3 times a week, so stick around for more fun videos like this one, and I will see all of you in my next video. Goodbye!